otherwise, no court
Assalamu
can say.
alaikum and welcome to Perspective. We'll be talking about the overall situation as far as Punjab is concerned, the reports between reported drifts between the PTI and the PMLQ. How true are they in terms of the vote of confidence? Also, the reluctance of the Chief Minister Punjab to go forward towards a vote of confidence. What is the likely scenario going to be with respect to the hearing on the 11th? We'll be talking about that. We'll also be talking about the number game at this time as it exists in Punjab, pursuant to the earlier decision by the court regarding the fragments within political parties that can defect and not defect, of course, which has changed things considerably. We'll be talking about that, all of that today on Perspective. I have with me Aneek Zafar, who's a political analyst. Thank you for joining us today. We also have with us Dr. Niaz Murtaza, who is a political analyst. Thank you for being with us. Ji, Aneek Saab, to start off with you, like we were earlier talking about, there is an obvious reluctance by the Chief Minister Punjab at this time to go for a vote of confidence. He talks about it, and then there is the same, and then the opposing side, we see this determination come from the former Prime Minister and PTI head Imran Khan Saab saying that there should be, he wants the assemblies dissolved. What kind of scenario is it going to be? We're also now seeing reports in the media of the fact that the PTI has said that in the meeting that was held in Lahore, that they will go forward and move towards resignation, like in the centre, if the assemblies are not dissolved. What kind of a scenario are we looking at?
Well, there are multiple scenarios which can emerge from within the next 2 to 3 days. From 9th, which is a Monday, to 11th, which is on Wednesday, when the Lahore High Court is going to take up this matter. Within these 2 days, whether PTI can convince Chaudhry Parvez Elahi to seek a vote of confidence on the 9th or not. If he goes ahead with the vote of confidence, the big question is whether he has the numbers. We should remember that the majority required in Punjab Assembly is 186, and PTI and PMLQ along with one other party, I think, they stand at somewhere 189. So it's a very, very thin majority. If 2 or 3 or 4 members do not appear, they may take some plea, may have flown out of the country, whatever reason they do not appear. We must remember that in this scenario, the onus of proving the numbers is on PTI and PMLQ. So going forward, if Parvez Elahi does not agree to take a vote of confidence, he cannot be forced to take a vote of confidence. And PTI then has till 11th to see what is the next move of Mr. Parvez Elahi in the Lahore High Court, because Lahore High Court will definitely be asking Chaudhry Parvez Elahi that whether he is ready to take a vote of confidence or not. The question in Lahore High Court is whether governor was in his constitutional power to ask for vote of confidence, and then failing which he removed, he dissolved the cabinet. So now the question is whether Parvez Elahi should be getting a vote of confidence under the governor's order, or he should be taking a vote of confidence on his own.
Right, let me come back to you. Niaz Saab, can you hear me? Niaz Saab, Dr. Niaz Murtaza, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Ji, Niaz Saab, we're talking about the overall number game in Punjab at this time. In your opinion, the vote of confidence scenario, what do you expect to happen? Because, of course, the courts asking, the big question for the courts, as Aneek Saab is saying, is that will the vote of confidence go forward? And will the court ask Chaudhry Parvez Elahi Saab to go forward for vote of confidence? How are you looking at things now at this time? Or do you think that he is hoping from a respite from that direction?
Well, I think we need to start with the verdict itself, which I thought wasn't exactly a legal verdict. I think legally, if you look at it, I think the governor was well within his rights to ask the chief minister to take a vote of confidence. But, the speaker was refusing to call a session for that purpose, saying that, this asking for a vote of confidence is illegal. So this is the issue that the court should have decided. And I think if you go by the law, by what the constitution says, the governor does have the right. So I think the right decision would have been to order the speaker to hold the session and take a vote of confidence. Now they did do that, and they re-appointed Pervez Elahi, and not to go for a dissolution, which I thought was also strange. But now what could happen is, again on the 11th, the court will, hear both parties. And then the question is that, it may again ask Pervez Elahi whether, he's willing to give another assurance that, he will not dissolve the assembly. And in that case, they may continue the case for a while, few days, few weeks. But if Pervez Elahi
But Niyasab, now the PTI is saying, from the meeting that they held recently, they're saying that it seems they will go, if dissolution doesn't happen, they will go forward for resignation, which is, the scenario that's happened in the center with the PTI resigning in the National Assembly. In that kind of a scenario, who is going to be the ultimate loser, in your opinion? If the PTI chooses to resign from the Punjab Assembly will proceed like the National Assembly is proceeding since April of last year. So who is it going to affect? Isn't it likely that PTI itself will be the likely affectee, so to speak, of this decision if they go forward?
Well, I think the first thing to see is whether, why doesn't the PTI speaker himself call the session and ask the chief minister to take a vote of confidence and hold the voting? I mean, there's nothing that the chief minister can legally do to stop that step. All he can do is not appear to vote. So I think the PTI is well within its, legal rights to go ahead and hold the session through its speaker. So why would they want to, resign instead of taking that option? It just shows, there are just games within games, multiple sub-agendas. But if it does, take the option of resigning, then, the fact is that Pervez Elahi will not have a majority unless he, goes to the side of PMLN and tries to get a majority by joining there.
So unless he then becomes the PDM's chief minister, he will,
he has no future. So in that case, the assembly will not get dissolved, but then, the PDM will try to, either get Pervez Elahi or try to, get 186 votes in some other fashion. So it's all very confusing.
But Niyasab, if that happens, and if there are those, resignations, and for example, he does not, become the PDM's chief minister, then of course they will appoint their own chief minister. They will have within the numbers, whatever numbers there are in the Punjab Assembly, there's nothing to preclude them from running the Punjab Assembly like the National Assembly is running. And there's no, they don't have to go for any elections at all in the province.
No, in the first round they will need to show 186. But if in the first round nobody gets 186, then in the second round, it's the majority, whoever gets more votes, or the majority. So in that case, they will be able to get their own chief minister, and then, the PTI will be the big loser. So I think this is not the last word even from PTI. These are just threats. And it's a very complicated scenario, made complicated by the actions of all the three parties, PMLM, PMLN, PMLQ, PTI, and then finally the court itself. So I don't know how it's going to get resolved. It's getting more and more complicated.
Let me come back to you, Niyasab. Anisab, like Niyasab is saying, he's saying that, he doesn't know how it's going to get resolved at this point. The situation is becoming murkier and murkier. But in terms of whatever are threats to each other, or whatever is, just said as hyperbole, the situation on the ground is that as far as Punjab Assembly is concerned, as far as this call for dissolution and then not happening and then going to court, there is the uncertainty element that keeps building up. And one can't ignore that, and that has its own effects, that has its own ramifications when there's no certainty. and for the parties to again to sit down and work towards that kind of, one can call it charter of certainty, one can call it charter of economy, whatever, but it's the same kind of thing, and no roads seem to be leading there.
I totally agree with you that starting from April up till now, we are going through a very uncertain period. And that is reflecting on the economic situation of the country also. And there is a desire, I think there is a desire in the people that these political parties should come together, sit down together and evolve some mechanism through which we can at least assure the people, the stakeholders, external stakeholders, internal stakeholders of the country that it is a stable country, feeling which the consequences are not very pleasant. But coming back to the point of Punjab, Punjab has a very unique position right now. Actually, without PMLQ, no one is in a position to show majority, 186. And then the resignation question is also there. If PTI resigns, what happens? And Mr. Niaz Murtaza raised a very valid point that if they have the numbers, what stops them from summoning a session tomorrow and moving a resolution of vote of confidence and give a vote of confidence to the Chief Minister? What stops them from that? But again, the question is that if the Chief Minister is not willing to take that vote of confidence, then how the larger, the bigger ally in the coalition can go ahead and achieve it? If they fail, then what happens? So this is a high risk game. So everyone is sidestepping the actual question that who holds the majority, and all other games are being played behind the scene.
We also have with us Javed Jadoon Sahab. Javed Sahab, can you hear me?
Yeah, sure, I can.
We're talking about the scenario in Punjab at this time, the fact that the reluctance of the Chief Minister to go for a vote of confidence. If that doesn't happen, in terms of what the position is as far as the law is concerned, in open defection, of course, doesn't seem to be an option. But what do you think prevents him? I mean, does he not have the numbers from going towards a vote of confidence? The unsurety is, of course, clear.
I think, thank you, MAHRUKH. I believe that Chief Minister Pervez Ilai is trying to avoid the vote of confidence because he believes that he might fall short of few members of the Provincial Assembly, because there are news circulating that maybe a couple of members of the Assembly from PTI probably won't be voting for him, and I think that's the very reason. And secondly, I think he is going to lose a lot because he believes that with only 10 people, with 10 members of the Provincial Assembly, he is holding the office of the Chief Minister of the biggest province in Pakistan. So he's got a lot to lose, the power, the authority, the influence, the clout.
But Javed Sahab, how long do you think, how long, I mean, can this scenario be prolonged in your opinion? Because, for things to remain this uncertain, for him to continue to avoid the vote of confidence, for him to continue to deflect going towards dissolution of assemblies, all of that, it's a very, it's not something that can be done long term. So do you think there's a long-term strategy afoot? What is behind this delay? I mean, is there a method to this?
As far as Pervez Ilai is concerned, he doesn't have any long-term strategy. Imran Khan believes that he will dissolve the Provincial Assembly once he is done away with the vote of confidence or vote of no confidence. So ultimately, his objective is to dissolve the Assembly. And Pervez Ilai doesn't want that, despite the fact that he has conveyed in so many words the message that he is going to do whatever is commanded by Imran Khan. But I think in the heart of his heart, he believes that as far as he can linger it on as much as possible, this is going to benefit him. But ultimately, you're right that it's a political chess game. Every contender is making a move. TDM is definitely looking for capturing the largest province of Pakistan, because without Punjab, you understand, the clout of the federal government is limited to a certain a certain level, and even KP out of the periphery of the federal government. So I think they
Javed,
would
we're
be
talking
gunning.
about the fact that it will suit the PDM. It will suit, of course, as far as the government is concerned, if the PTI goes and resigns in Punjab, because then that will entail, it will be the same kind of scenario that we've seen in the National Assembly. And, the only person who's actually suffered, it seems now, and I'm sure in retrospect the PTI can also look back and see, is them losing out on their participation within the National Assembly rather than it having any sort of effect on the government.
I think things are not going the way PTI would like things to go. As far as Imran Khan is concerned, whichever move he makes is basically backfired somehow or the other, and I mean, narrative he was giving to the nation yesterday was that he's a helpless person. He really can't, I mean, get away with so many things. So I believe that it's a kind of a desperate attempt on part of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, but I really don't see any chances of success because now Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf is pitted against the PDM government, and they believe the invisible forces as well. So if Imran Khan's words are taken at the face value, if Imran Khan is pitted against the PDM and the invisible forces as well, then I really don't believe he stands any chances as far as the Punjab government is concerned. He is not going to be able to sustain his power.
Javed Sahab, let me come back to you. We have with us Barrister Safiullah Ghori. I would like to take his opinion on the legality of things. Safiullah, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Mahrukh. However, I don't know what the question is.
No, I haven't yet asked a question. Safiullah, we're talking about the overall scenario in the Punjab Assembly. And the fact that, of course, other than the reluctance of the Chief Minister there to go for a vote of confidence, of course, there's a hearing also on the 11th. Pursuant to what happened last time with the role of the governor and the governor asking for a vote of confidence, what do you expect? I mean, in terms of the delay, how much delay can we expect as far as these proceedings are concerned, legally speaking, in your experience? And, how as far as the Chief Minister is concerned, how much can he stretch it?
Right. So, Mahrukh, I'm very clear on the fact that the Chief Minister, when he submitted his affidavit to the court, essentially went against the public statements that he has been making to the people of Punjab and of Pakistan, when he kept stating that he is going to sue my PTI and he will resign at the drop of a penny. I also am perfectly clear on the fact that the fact that he went to the court was something that was inherently against PTI's line of action. Now, the fact that PTI continues to believe that this matter can be resolved by a vote of confidence is absolutely incorrect. This vote of confidence is not going to take place until and unless the courts now allow him to do so, and that would, of course, be pending on the Chief Minister's whim as to whether he wants to go ahead with it or not. So it was very clear from the get-go that the Chief Minister was unwilling to drop his position as the Chief Minister of Punjab, and the Chief Minister found the perfect outlet by submitting an affidavit to the court. Because if he goes ahead with any elections, he would be in contempt. And contempt is something that he would obviously not want to be in, because it would disqualify him from future elections. That is something that the PTI would also understand. We have already seen in Yusuf Raza Gilani's case that this has happened before. And we also know very clearly that this is something that goes against PTI's long-held narrative that they will be able to for the assemblies. We've also seen recent examples of many PTI MPs who have approached the Chief Minister and also the Speaker, stating their dissatisfaction with the party's perspective and stating that a vote of confidence in such a manner is absolutely necessary with a show of hands. So, frankly, I don't see any possibility of this matter being resolved anytime soon, especially with this affidavit being in the court. And this matter could only then be resolved if this affidavit is withdrawn.
No, but Ms. Safiullah, as far as the next hearing is concerned, isn't it quite, I mean, the court can now ask the Chief Minister to go forward and, go for a vote of confidence. Isn't that true?
The court could, of course, ask that, but I believe that it would be the chief legal strategy to try and delay this matter as much as possible. If the chief minister was interested in a vote of confidence, he would never have tendered that affidavit to begin with. So the chief minister, through his legal counsel, the fact that legal counsel were the ones who first insisted that they could give an affidavit to this effect, would probably try and delay and adjourn the court matters to begin with. And also, Mahrukh, it's very important to realize the fact that we are now in January 2023. Elections are a mere 6 months away. These are statutory elections. These will be held one way or the other. The court stands to gain nothing from trying to decide this matter early on. The election commission would be overburdened if a decision to the contrary would take place. And so I think if you were to look at the balance of convenience, the courts might just end up trying to delay this matter and shove it under the to try and create further upheavals at a time when there are already
but Safiullah, let me before I move on, but then also we've had another statement come from the former Prime Minister. I mean, whether he's actually going to go forward and do this or not, but he has said that if the assemblies are not dissolved, then they will go towards resignation. Do you think that's likely? Do you think that's possible? Again, if we're looking at elections in August when the term ends, for them to at this time resign and go towards working towards the elections, campaigning, all of that, wouldn't be a great loss to them. How do you look at that?
But if they had to resign, would they resign from the KPK assembly? The question really is, why are they experimenting with the Punjab assembly where they do not have the kind of majority that they have in the KPK assembly? It's clear that these are all gimmicks that are being constantly propped up in attempts to stay relevant and in an attempt to create some sort of friction between the parties. And I suppose this is what opposition parties do at the end of the day. But
so you think that, Safiullah, let me come back to you. Please stay with us. Aneek Saab, do you think that this is, under the guise of all of these statements that are coming forward, the hyperbole and, making these statements all and, politicking or whatever one may call it, there is an acceptance that the elections will be held in August, and there is, a move towards working towards that, campaigning and all of that for the PTI also?
Sure, that is the case, because I think by now PTI and PTI's supporters, and Mr. Imran Khan himself, they understand that they have no recourse, no option where they can force the government to hold early elections. And anyhow, as you mentioned, that in August all assemblies are completing their tenure, and after that, once these assemblies complete their tenure, within 60 days, Election Commission has to hold elections. That is a constitutional requirement. So everyone now is prepared to go to the polls somewhere in September, October this year. That's not far away, and no one is going to spend money on electioneering and all that kind of stuff before that period. Just 6 months ahead of that election, I think that's not going to happen. As Barrister Safiullah said, that courts are also cognizant of that issue, and one option for the courts is to just linger it on, and after March, obviously,
it will
there are options available for the Election Commission to say that now the general elections are going to be held within 6 months, so let's wait for that. If that is allowed to dissolve, if these are allowed to dissolve. But I don't think anyone is serious right now to dissolve the provincial assemblies of KP or Punjab.
KP also, they've I think formally said that they will not dissolve.
But they are saying that they will wait for Punjab because PTI leadership says that dissolving KP alone won't create enough pressure.
Right. Let me go to Nyasab. Nyasab, do you think that the kind of overall situation in which the government also, of course, has to gear up for the next elections, overall economy, the challenges at this time, the government is of course trying to get somewhere as far as the economy is concerned, as far as stabilizing situation there is concerned. Overall, if this is going to be the election year, there are challenges for numerous challenges for all parties. How do you see the situation? It's not just the opposition, it's the government also, and it's a lot of parties which are part of this government at this time.
Well, I think the first thing the government should do is to resubmit the vote of no confidence. Not because it hopes to win it, because that will stop Parvez Ali from dissolving the assembly for a good 2 weeks. And then it should go into the court on the 11th and request the court order Parvez Ali to take a vote of confidence. It's a quite
Nasab, I think
likely
there's a
that
problem with
court might get
audio.
rid of. Hello,
G,
can you hear me?
now I can. You're
Okay,
saying
so
that
I'm saying
G.
submit a vote of no confidence, then argue in the court for it to have Parvez Ali take the vote of confidence within a week. And even if Parvez Ali doesn't give an undertaking a second time, it would be immaterial because there's a vote of no confidence pending, and he can't dissolve the assembly. And then they can hope that he will not win the vote of confidence and he loses position. I can sign them, or they can bring in their own chief minister. That will be the best path for the government to take at this time. Otherwise, it will be very risky. It can't be sure what decision the court will give on the 11th. So it's for them, it's best for them to again resubmit the vote of no confidence.
Right. G, let me come back to you. G, Javed Saab, can you hear me?
Yeah, sure, I can.
Ji, Javed Saab, you heard what Niaz Saab was saying. He's saying that go towards a vote of no confidence as far as the government is concerned. As far as the situation in Punjab is concerned, with Chaudhry Parvez Ali being CM at this time, the overall with all, if we look at all the provinces, the KP government, what's happening in the center overall, how do you look at the elections of this year?
Madam, I think the options for both the camps are shrinking very fast. On the political chessboard, they are making moves as far as Imran Khan is concerned. He seems to be a bit demoralized. He's running out of options. He has applied
Javed
everything
sir, do you think
possible
that there
as
is,
far
I
as
mean,
political moves.
he doesn't seem to be, like you said, he's out of options. He doesn't seem to be, if he really has that much confidence in his own party base or his own voter base, then, of course, he will have the elections come August. Of course, that's when the term ends. Do you think that there is that confidence? Do you think that he believes that, without any help, he will be able to get the kind of votes that, he talks about often?
Maruf, as far as his political support base is concerned, is definitely there. His support base hasn't vanished, hasn't decreased. He is enjoying widespread support in the country. On the contrary, it's the PDM which is apprehensive that they might not be able to garner the kind of a support they would like to come elections, rather in October this year or beyond October this year, because there was a talk of even elections being delayed beyond October as well, because government believes that if they hold elections now, they lose. If they hold elections in October, there's a possibility that they're not going to get the kind of results they would like. And as far as Imran is concerned, he does have his political
setbacks for the PTI also, in the sense, galvanizing the kind of support he wanted on the streets, trying to get people to come out. All of that didn't quite work out for them. And traditionally also, they haven't been known as a party that can achieve on election day, that can deliver on election day. So those challenges do remain for the PTI itself to mobilize their voter base from away from social media and to get them to actually vote, for his voter base to actually translate into votes, for them to come out and support him. All of those things have traditionally been a challenge for this party. Isn't that true?
No, I think the challenge is for the federal government, Maruf, because it's the economy which is wreaking havoc with the country. Look at the inflation, about 25%. I'm talking about the consumer price index. The foreign exchange reserves are hovering around $5.6 billion, which are not even sufficient for 1 month's imports as well.
Then why is
Now,
there this urgency? Why is the urgency for early elections? Why is there this urgency for going towards dissolution of assemblies in Punjab? If all is okay with the PTI and their voter base, if all is okay with their, that their vote bank is not getting swayed, there's no problem there, then why does the former Prime Minister insist on these things?
I think he believes that the longer he waits in the wilderness is not good for his party as well, because elections, he is also apprehensive that elections could be delayed, and delay in elections could change so many things in between, because down the road, October seems to be a long, long way. I mean, probably Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf believes that if elections are not held in October and they go beyond October 2023, then I mean, he is apprehensive of the establishment, apprehensive of the political moves which PDM is making, but he does believe that he has the support base, necessary support of the people. On the contrary, Mark, you need to understand that right now the federal government is really beleaguered, economy is melting. There seems to be no way out. There's no ninth review of the IMF program. And the friendly countries are not even extending.
Do you think there are? Let me come back to you. But do you think that there are the reports? Let me go to Anik Sab. Anik Sab, do you think that the reports that the kind of deal between the PMLQ and the PTI, in terms of partners or in terms of allies, this is going to be a long-term kind of haul? Because there were reports of the PMLQ demanding certain settlements, the conditionalities they had laid down, and the PTI chief finding it hard to okay them, to agree to them. What kind of an alliance do you think this is a timely one? It's going to take till the elections. How do you look at it? The seat adjustment.
MAHRUKH, I seriously don't think that this alliance can hold.
Okay.
Chaudhry Parvez Elahi, the CM of Punjab, is very well aware that the moment he dissolved the assembly, he has no leverage with the PTI. With PTI and with the former Prime Minister. Then it will be all about adjusting his own party leaders on different seats.
Of 10 seats, of essentially,
I mean, it's 10
at this
seats,
time.
10 seats PMLQ has currently. Some of these are reserved seats, so general seats maybe 7 or 8, and then obviously they have 6 National Assembly seats, out of which 2 are on the other side, 4 are on one side, 2 are on the other side. So it's a split house already. So I don't think that this alliance can hold for long, because the experience of most political allies with the former Prime Minister is not very pleasant when he doesn't need them.
No, but of course, in terms of them becoming relevant, this is one for the books, right? I mean, they with 10 seats, like you said, with 8 seats and 2 reserved seats, Punjab, 4 seats in the National Assembly.
National Assembly with Parvez Elahi group of PMLQ and 2 with Chaudhry Shujat.
For them to become this relevant is perhaps one of those rare things that has happened.
Yes, the current configuration of the Provincial Assembly Punjab is very unique in that sense that they have that leverage of 10 seats.
So you don't see any kind of seat adjustment happening in the future with the PTI?
Seat adjustment may happen, but not to the extent that Mr. Parvez Elahi may be looking at.
Because there are also reports that he's asked for the CM slot again.
That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. If Mr. Khan comes with his own majority, he will not accommodate Mr. Parvez Elahi.
Right. Let me come back to you. Niaz Sahab, as far as the economy is concerned, certainly there are challenges for the government, and the government is dealing with those. As far as there's no denying in the wake of what happened after the vote of confidence, vote of no confidence, or in the centre, and the overall situation as far as economy is concerned, and the government made no secret of it. After that, we saw varying narratives coming from the PTI chief, starting, I think we've discussed this before, starting from the cipher, and then there was the conspiracy, and then there was it's followed on from there. The ouster, all of those things. There's been anti-establishment, all of those things. as things stand today, as far as those narratives are concerned, don't you think that the change in those narratives has also dented their popularity within their own supporter base, you know, for the PTI chief to detract from his earlier statements that we saw happen over time?
Well, you know, that is the thing. That is the nature of Imran Khan's politics. You know, he doesn't have much performance to talk about. So he has to have, you know, one conspiracy theory after another. In 2014, it was the rigging lies. And then, you know, now it was about firstly the US conspiracy theory. And then the conspiracy theory moved to Pindi. And then people got tired of all that. So now the conspiracy theory is about his own assassination attempt, you know, so somehow he has to whip some kind of, you know, conspiracy and, you know, all kind of drama to keep his politics relevant, and that's what he's trying desperately. But I mean, gradually you can see it here and there on Twitter, in social media, in your social circles, that people are getting a little bit affected. I won't say that he's completely lost his support, but you know, the challenge before him is how to maintain it some way or the other without going into the performance bit, because that's very bad. So you know, he has to keep whipping up emotions after emotions on some issue or the other. So let's see if he can do that, and that's why he's in such a hurry to have elections early, because you can't keep up coming up with new conspiracy theories every time. So you know, he needs to have the elections held as soon as possible, so that whatever momentum he has, he can cash on it and win the elections.
But in terms of the overall situation at this time, of course, with the PPP also, we saw what's happening in Sindh, we saw what's happening in Karachi. What kind of a scenario do you think is likely to happen as far as the MQM is concerned in Karachi, in Sindh also? I mean, that remains a supporter basis of the PPP.
Yeah, but I mean, I think there are issues. There are always issues in alliances. But the thing is that, you know, ultimately, I think it's in the MQM's interest to stay together with PTM, because, you know, it'll be very difficult for them to go back to PTI, which is its direct competitor in most of the seats in Karachi. You know, the PTI is a direct competitor, whereas with PPP, it's not a direct competition on the seats. It's an issue about, you know, sharing of power equitably within Sindh. So I think those issues can still be resolved, and some of them are getting resolved. They got their governor, they got
But
their administrator.
in terms of PPP itself, do you see it gaining ground there? Do you think that it will do better as far as the next elections are concerned? What is the overall situation in your opinion?
I think it will maintain Sindh. There isn't any challenge in Sindh, and it seems to be making some inroads in Balochistan, with a lot of people joining in. So, you know, it might, you know, be able to recover some lost ground in Balochistan, and then it might try to do the same in KP, where Mr. Zardari made a statement that, you know, a lot of friends had left us and we'll try to get them back. So it's possible that, yeah, in 2 or 3 provinces, not so much in Punjab itself, there it will be PTI versus PMLN, and then, you know, to some extent PMLQ. But yeah, in Balochistan and KP, PPP might be able to make some inroads.
Javed Sahab, do you think that there is, I mean, the urgency that we see in the former Prime Minister when he talks about elections is also to some extent he's motivated by, of course, there are, you know, a number of cases against him. And he doesn't know, you know, what's going to happen as far as there is the Toshakhana case, the foreign funding case. So he has legal battles on his hand also, and things seem tricky and uncertain in that quarter also.
Yes, Paraf, I think as far as legal orders are concerned, they're heavily against Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf chairman, but we have seen, if past is any kind of a lesson for us, you really can't sidetrack any political leader because of the legal cases. If he's a popular leader, he will remain so. And so far, the people support any leader. It doesn't matter. Even if he's disqualified, he will definitely stay relevant. Even if he is not the chairman of the party, he will be calling the shots, even while sitting on the margins.
Do you think that anybody, you know, particularly, of course, the opposition, because, you know, as far as the government is concerned, of course, they are at the helm of affairs, they're running things at this time. you know, when they're talking about elections, they're talking about performance. Of course, their own performance has gone in the background. But do you think that they are cognizant of the fact that were they any, you know, party to come into power, they will have numerous challenges on their hands, and for them to get things to do better, to on track, all of those things, you know, has the plan that the PTI earlier talked about. Of course, there's no talk yet of another plan that they may have, but you know, those kind of challenges work on that kind of a plan which can then help people seems to be missing. You know, there's only this conspiracy narrative that keeps on coming and changing.
Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you. Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf and Imran Khan, they do not have any alternative plan to pull the country out of the brink, because economy is definitely has gone south, and it would be extremely difficult for even Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. Right now, maybe they are enjoying the sympathy of the people. Once in power, they will be facing massive, massive challenges for any economic recovery, which is not going to come by easily. It might take years for the country to come back on the track once again. So that is going to be a catch-22 situation even for Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. Coming into power would be a very, very thorny kind of a scenario. But right now, even if the PDM alliance is concerned, it is going to unravel, MAHRUKH, because they will be pitted against each other. Pakistan Muslim League and Pakistan People's Party, the traditional rivals, they are going to be pitted against each other. And Pakistan People's Party doesn't stand a chance in Punjab and Balochistan as well. The main contenders would be Pakistan Muslim League and Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. It is only the kind of a gimmicks and the kind of a maneuvering which Mr. Zardari is making. But he's definitely not relevant in Punjab. He's not relevant in Balochistan. He's only relevant in interior Sindh, not even in the urban parts of Sindh province. It is Pakistan Muslim League Noon and Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. They are going to be the main contenders whenever the elections are held. And there's going to be a neck-to-neck fight in Punjab as well, and in other parts of the country. So as far as Pakistan People's Party is concerned,
whether there will be any one party might, you know, ultimately be able to secure the kind of majority that they want. I mean, there's no way of knowing that either.
Very extremely difficult to predict right now, MAHRUKH, because I mean, in many instances, in many elections, you know, the surveys or whatever you call them went the wrong way, and even in India, even in America. So I really can't predict what is going to happen when elections come. Imran believes that he has the support of the people.
Before we close.
I was listening to Mr. Jadoon. Obviously, it is very difficult to predict that there will be any party with a even with a simple majority.
Right.
I do not buy into the claims that there will be 2/3 majority for a party or not, or something, but that's not going to happen. It will again be hung house. Most parties will be trying to find allies before the elections or after the elections.
And you think allies will become more important again?
Allies will become very, very important again. Thank you very much.
Right, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Niaz Murtaza, thank you for being with us. Aneek Zafar Saab, thank you for joining us. Javed Jadoon Saab, thank you for being with us today. Barrister Safiullah Khoury, thank you for joining us today. As far as the overall scenario in Punjab is concerned, things seem to be in a flux. Of course, we'll know what happens in court on the 11th, but it seems that overall there seems to be an acquiescence that the elections will be held in August. The term will end in August of this year, and there seems perhaps to be preparation as far as the opposition is concerned in that regard. A lot of things seem hyperbole, a lot of it is just politicking. Let's see what happens on the next hearing. Thank you so much for joining us today on Perspective.